Hello, everybody. I'm Richard Sher, and it's time to square off. And we've got a great show. Let's meet this week's panelists.
I'm Professor Richard Vatz.
Tonya Banya.
Pastor Shannon Wright.
Attorney Jim Astrachan.
Good to have you all. What a panel. It's very exciting. All right, before we open up the government, let's open up the Epstein files. How about that? Allegedly, where he wrote to Ghislaine Maxwell, in which Epstein says that Trump actually knew about the girls, another saying Trump spent hours with one of the girls. Tonya Banya, let's start with you first.
Yeah, Rich, I think this is a real problem for the president because this is an issue that has not gone away. He's promised to release these files. A big part of his base supports that, and he's already losing support in that key demographic. I think the guy's name is Nick Fuentes, has said MAGA's dead, and I think that this could be the thing that really limits the president's ability to implement his agenda.
Speak.
Well, for 5 years now, we've heard about the problems that Donald Trump is going to have. Watch out for this. Watch out for the 34 counts of falsifying business records, everything. This is going to be nothing. The question is, how good a job is he doing as president? Let him alone on these things. They fail, they fail, they fail. And it's embarrassing to the Democrats and the people who simply hate Trump. And it's just absurd. It never stops.
Rick, why leave him alone?
Because this is not a material matter in his presidency. And he's already been tried for things that might have been material matters in his presidency. It's time to move on. Forget personal attacks on Trump.
Well, I'd like to jump in at this point and say that the book has not been completely read. All we've seen are some documents that have been released that were subpoenaed from the estate, and we've seen 20,000 pages. There's more to this story. That's the problem. He's lying. He has lied. He's lied about his knowledge of Epstein. Now, Epstein's a convicted felon. Trump's a convicted felon. Who do you believe in these situations? But if Epstein's to be believed, Trump had a lot of knowledge about what Epstein was up to. That doesn't make him a criminal. It just makes him a liar. But here's the thing. I think that if you dig further into these records, deep into these records, into the records that the Justice Department may have, you're going to find that one of Trump's businesses was a teenage beauty pageant that occurred in places like Russia and Europe. And Jeffrey Epstein was his best friend, two dogs that hunted together. And Epstein was somebody who had a lot of underage girlfriends, and he had to be supplied with these underage girlfriends. And I think Trump had the inventory to supply him, and I think Trump needed the finances. And I'm waiting to see if that shoe drops with some of these records that are out there, which would implicate him in trafficking. And I might add, there is no statute of limitations for federal trafficking of a minor. So
Shannon,
it's deeper than I think it is.
all right, Shannon Wright.
I think that there are enough things sitting on the table for us to look at and talk about than having to go dig and speculate and hypothesize about what could, might, maybe be. We've got
That's
some
what this show's about.
I get it. I think we need to leave President Trump alone on this. And if things come out, they come out. If they don't, let's move on.
Yeah, whatever happened to Stormy Daniels? Why don't we talk about that? Why don't we talk about all the counts that there's still some counts that he's got to face at the end of his presidency, which he won't face. I mean, this is just obsessive, and it never stops. It literally never stops.
Oh, wasn't he
Except that
convicted?
this time it's coming from his own base, Rick. Professor, it's coming from his own people. The MAGA base wants this. They're the ones that are screaming the loudest for the files to be released, and it's not going away.
They're not screaming they're not screaming because they think he's guilty of anything. They're screaming because they want it off the table. Let's get this finished with.
Well, that's right. Let's get it off the table. Let's put all the papers out on the table. Let's sort through them and let's see what they say. And if they don't say anything that is incriminating, then we'll move on. But right now, there's smoke. There's lots and lots of smoke.
You're incorrect. We will not then move on.
Nope.
There will be something else. I guarantee it.
Well, you're reading the tea leaves at that point. But he does, but you're right. He does give us an awful lot of ammunition to use to criticize him because of his ways.
Because he's a funny guy.
These
Because
files are going to be the proof that Donald Trump is in fact not, I mean, we know this. He's not a Republican. He's not a Democrat. These files are going to be the proof that, this inner circle of cabal of people controlling DC, that it included Donald Trump and Bill Clinton and Jeffrey Epstein. That's what these files are going to show. And that's going to be a problem with his base.
Jim says, and everybody doesn't like Trump, and I don't much like Trump, says, look, this guy is a slimy guy. And I think you're right. I just don't think there's anything to put him in jail for, to try him for, to take up our time with. Let's look at his presidency. That should be our focus in the next 3 years.
Absolutely not. You say there is nothing yet. That's the point. Let's keep looking. There's a treasure trove of documents that may or may not. Let's look through them. And if they are not something that would incriminate him for a crime, turn them over, walk away from it. And you're right. There's plenty of other things that you can criticize them for, because I think you use the word slimy or sleazy.
Slimy.
I think you're being kind.
Here's another quote.
And you're restrained.
Excuse me. Here's another quote from Epstein's emails. Quote, I want you to realize that dog that hasn't barked is Trump, the victim whose name was redacted. Epstein goes on, he spent hours at my house with him, referring to Trump. The White House says Democrats releasing these 3 first emails is an attempt to smear Trump, who claims no knowledge of this at all.
Well, the redacted name, Richard, was Giuffre, the woman who committed suicide in April. And she gave a sworn deposition in 2016, saying that Trump did nothing untoward to her. And she also gave an interview saying the same thing. So I don't really know what all that means. Yes, he spent time with her. It means he lied. He knew what was going on. He knew what Epstein was doing. He lied. A lot of people lie. They get deeper and deeper into their lies as they try to perpetuate the lie. But so far, nothing criminal has come out of this. I agree with the professor at that point and Shannon. Nothing criminal has come out of this. But keep looking. See what's there.
Well, that's what the Democrats want to do every single minute. Keep looking. Why don't we focus on foreign policy, on domestic policy? Let's drop it for a change. There's nothing there. And when there's nothing there, I predict, see if I'm right or wrong, I predict when there's nothing there, there'll be 5 other women or 5 other misrepresentations, allegedly, on his finances that'll come forward. Then they'll focus on that.
Well, there's nothing there yet. But there's lots and lots and lots and lots of documents to go through. And what you're suggesting is to turn your back on those documents because the first 20,000 pages that implicate him in knowledge that he lied about do not implicate him in a crime. So turn your back on those other pages and move on. But that's not the right thing to do.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You can find any president.
Ridiculous.
Investigate any president for matters that are complicated in finances, that many of them with respect to women. You know that Marco Rubio was accused of having an affair. Now, is that something?
How about Jimmy Carter? What would you say about Jimmy Carter?
You found the one sexually pure president we ever had.
Listen, what you're also suggesting, Professor, is that women come forward with frivolous or false accusations, and I have to take issue with that. I've done, hundreds of investigations of sexual misconduct. It's simply factual that false accusations are so insignificant a portion of accusations as to just not be worthy of discussion. Okay, so and let's not pretend that it's not an established fact that Donald Trump is a sexual predator, and there's a difference between groping people against their will and having a consensual affair. Okay, so let's not obfuscate the real issue here, which is that the president has this history. If he's engaged in criminal acts that should be addressed, then we should address that. If not, let's move on.
When will you say that's enough? When will you say, how much does he have to be cleared of to say that's enough? Let's not investigate him personally anymore. Or you want to just do that for the next 3 years?
Well, Rick, he was found guilty 34 times. What? So,
And where's that going?
what?
And where is that going?
Well, it's going nowhere, but it's
He's a convicted felon. He's a convicted felon. And you know, they're also in these Epstein tapes or these Epstein emails. There's a lot of information going back and forth about Epstein talking to Russians, feeding information about Trump to Putin. What about that? Should that be investigated, or should that just be swept off the table because we're on the surface of that information?
You will never exhaust matters to investigate a president you don't like. Never.
Amen to that. And this
in
is
the
just
memo published this past Sunday, ladies and gentlemen. The Justice Department and the FBI are now saying they will not disclose anything else with the Epstein files. And on that note, we're going to pause for just a few moments while you enjoy the words from the voice of Square Off, Howard Mallison.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you. You know, with so many cars on the road and distracted drivers everywhere, auto accidents are going to happen. And if you've experienced an accident, the insurance companies cannot tell you where to take your car. That's why more and more drivers are trusting their auto repairs and maintenance to leading edge auto body and mechanical repair. They work on all makes and models and offer free pickup and delivery everywhere in the Baltimore area. So give them a call at 410-443-6433 or visit them at 5807 Falls Road in the heart of Mountain Washington. They make your car look and run like new again. And you know, if you're experiencing any kind of foot pain that requires medical attention, I recommend Dr. Kelly Gagan, well-respected, board-certified podiatrist and heel specialist. No one is immune to foot problems. Also, if your concern is the appearance of your feet, Dr. Gagan has a long record of success using laser treatments to correct your issue. So, plus they're safe and painless and go right to the root of the problem. You can believe me because I'm a cured patient, and so is Richard. So don't suffer from the agony of defeat. Start winning with a call to Dr. Gagan at 410-753-4422 to set up an appointment. Once again, that's 410-753-4422. Back to you, Richard.
I love that. The agony. What, Rick?
Dr. Gagan is my doctor as well.
Let me see your feet, Rick.
You don't want to see them, but they're better than they used to be.
Shannon, you do not prefer to see Rick's feet. All right. Thank you, Howard. Well, now, let's talk about the longest government shutdown ever in the history of this country. 43 days. They ended when President Trump signed a controversial funding bill Wednesday night. Who wants to talk first? How about you, Jim S.?
Yeah, I'd be happy to jump in. I think it's very interesting that the Democrats were trying to throw their Trump card into the pile and get rid of it, which is the healthcare issue, because I think that if the healthcare costs were so excessive as they claim they would be, that would give them a terrific leverage for the next elections, the midterm elections. And yet what they were trying to do was to get the Republicans to subsidize these healthcare costs and give away that Trump card. And now they've only left it for a vote in the Senate and not a vote in the House. So they may still have that Trump card as a result of these 8 senators.
Trump card. How about that, Rick Vatz?
Well, I'll tell you, the shutdown was just preposterous. And the fact that you had 10 Democrats who were willing to go over and vote to end the shutdown makes the Democrats look ridiculous. And let me say one thing about healthcare that I have been writing about for 30, 40 years, and that is we ought to end the coverage of mental illness because it is mostly all fakery. We should not cover that whatsoever. It used to be, it was only covered voluntarily. And we shouldn't have that covered. That constitutes about, let's say, 2%. That doesn't sound like a lot, but about 2% of all the costs of healthcare. And it's ludicrous to have people who are sad one day and they decide to see a psychiatrist, and people have to pay healthcare for those people.
Rick, have you seen what happens to these premiums? Your premium could be usually $240 a month, and now it could go up to $1,100. You've seen some of that, right?
Yeah, it's just preposterous.
That dog doesn't hunt. I mean, mental health is a real issue. Mental health treatment is real. It has real value to people who are struggling with mental illness. Like that ship sailed. With respect to the shutdown, I think this really just, and the reopening of the government, it just highlights the lack of leadership in the Democratic Party. If ultimately this was a strategic decision or a compromise, the party should have been behind a cohesive message, and the fact is they are not communicating a cohesive message. I think that if they had held out another week, that Trump would have caved, because Trump really is not a good negotiator, contrary to his own propaganda, and he really doesn't like being in the crosshairs of criticism. But we'll never know. But at the end of the day, I am supportive of the reopening of the government, because I think that a lot of families would have suffered due to the lack of full SNAP payments. And sometimes oftentimes politicians should make decisions on the basis of humanity and rather than political considerations.
Well, while the immediate crisis is resolved, their deeper political disagreements remain unsolved, including, as Rick was talking about, the extension of healthcare subsidies, leaving millions of Americans facing huge increases in their healthcare premiums. How are these people going to support their families if they get sick? Pastor, come to us.
This is something that, in my opinion, the amount of time that we had this shut off for would have been a time where we could actually put some thought into and planning into how to make sure folks can still eat, keep a roof over their head, and take care of their medical needs. But we didn't do that. I think that we have to figure out a way to solve the problem and not just keep putting Band-Aids on it. And until we do that, we're going to continue to have these issues. And the thing that makes me the most disturbed about all of this is this was a CR. They closed the government 40 some odd days over a CR that was only 7 weeks. And as it is now, we're only extended until, I believe it's January
30th.
So what did the hurt and the pain that was caused did nothing. We're still in the same spot that we were before.
The Democrats are fighting to spend $1.5 trillion more on healthcare, and the Republicans said we can't do that. And so, this is something where the Democrats say, by principle, these things ought to be covered. But the fact is, at some point, you run out of money. Or as Maggie Thatcher used to say, you run out of other people's money.
Can we talk about the big beautiful bill where all of this money that you're talking about was provided in tax breaks to billionaires? So if that money had not been squandered to billionaires who don't need it, there would have been sufficient money to take care of poor people who need health care and who need food, including mental health care. I mean, it's absurd. You're giving money away hand over fist, and then you're claiming you don't have any money.
And we're spending like a drunken sailor.
Sorry?
Let me ask you a question, Jim.
Yeah, we're spending like a drunken sailor. Planes for Kristi Noem to fly all over the country, dispatching the National Guard at a cost of $1 million a day. This is waste and graft. And if we, in fact, were concerned about conserving resources, we wouldn't be spending on those types of things. We wouldn't be flying, the FBI director across the country to see his girlfriend perform. I mean, these are the ways that we're wasting money. Like before we even get into like tax policy, these are the ways that we're just straight up wasting money. So we don't have money to help every American eat. Like, that's ridiculous, and that is going to be a problem for the Republicans. And this president as well. You cannot give with one hand and then cry that you're broke when it comes to taking care of your constituents.
That's exactly right. And how much money was spent on playing golf, flying back and forth to Mar-a-Lago?
Oh, that's not relevant. Jim,
of course it's relevant. It's money. It's money that can be spent. You're saying we can't afford to do this. What we're saying is that you could afford to do this. Your priorities are not good priorities. Your priorities are self-priorities. The rich
spouses don't get along.
You're creating what's called an auto capitalistic system where the regulations go by the wayside, so the billionaires can pillage the countryside, like the John Astors and the John Rockefellers did. Look who's benefiting. Look who's benefiting. It's not the poor people; it's the very, very wealthy friends of Donald Trump, the ones that he's.
Let me ask you a question: if two spouses don't get along, and they go to counseling so they can get along better, should that be part of healthcare? Should people have to pay in their healthcare accounts to pay for that?
I have no idea whether it should be or it shouldn't be. I'm not with that aspect of healthcare. Are you saying that that's mental illness counseling that would be paid for by healthcare?
I'm saying that's exactly what healthcare covers, especially in the last 10 to 15 years. Why should people get covered when they don't get along, when people are struggling to pay premiums on healthcare?
Why should our elected officials get $500,000 because someone looked at their phone records? I mean, come on. Maybe we can have that debate, Professor, after we talk about the 500 other things that this administration has wasted money on.
I mean, billions and billions of dollars have been paid over to the wealthy people in tax breaks. That money would have been the money that would have been used to subsidize this insurance. There are problems with the insurance issues, no question about it. But you can also look at the cost of providing medical insurance. You can look at or medical care. You can look at the insurance companies. But right now, the people that are in the crosshairs are these poor people, and where the money has gone that was available was through this tax bill.
You can always say, soak the rich. There's a long history of people who say, if there's a problem with money, soak the rich. But at some point, the rich end up going elsewhere or not having enough to support everything you want to have them support.
Let them go elsewhere. America is a wonderful country, and if they want to go someplace else, they can go to Russia for all I care. It doesn't make any difference. But are you really saying that soak the rich does not equate with this tax bill that provided substantial benefits to very wealthy people?
When you say benefits, when you say people's taxes will be lowered, why is the rate that they're currently at necessarily the perfect rate for taxing people? Why do you assume that anything that is current is acceptable because it's current? Maybe we shouldn't. The rich in this country pay for something like 75% of all taxes. Why should that be the case? Because you like the rich? You probably are the rich.
Why don't we look into why it is that 600,000 people in the United States file bankruptcy due to medical debt, but other developed countries have 0 people filing bankruptcy because of medical bills? Well, there is a way to do this that works. Our system is broken, and we're more invested in political infighting than we are actually solving the problem.
In a socialistic system, you can have all this paid for, but they have poor health care, they have inefficiency, and they don't have the place that you want to go to have your health taken care of. The United States is probably the best place to have health care.
Well, it depends on where you live. If you live in Baltimore, that's the case. But if you live in Podunk, Iowa, that may not be the case.
Oh, the podunk cardiologists are exquisite.
Exquisite, exactly. Every one of them.
Okay. So we're focusing on things that are not making life better for the regular, everyday Americans. And as long as we continue to do that and sit here and battle back and forth, both with the elected folks and the opinions of folks, we're not getting anywhere or solving anything.
How's this going to be resolved? Who has any ideas how and when this could be resolved?
It won't be resolved because the Senate's agreed to vote on this medical issue, but the House has not agreed. And if they do agree, it's not likely Trump would sign a bill. So I think it just keeps getting kicked down the road.
All right.
And I hope it gets kicked down the road to the midterms, because there'll be an overpowering wave of people voting against these practices in the midterms if this exists. Because as somebody said, you said, people are paying $1,000, $2,000 a month now for insurance premiums.
And they're going without food or what is it, Rick?
Well, I was just going to say the situation with healthcare, however bad you think it used to be much worse because we cover a lot more now and we try to cover everything. You can't, because it's called healthcare, people don't know the particulars of what is covered under healthcare. And now we pay for more and more things, and it becomes untenable.
So what's the difference between a person who has a mental illness who's going to kill themselves in the next 2 weeks and somebody that's got cancer that's going to die if they don't get health care?
Because a person who's about to kill himself makes a choice to kill himself. It's not mental illness. It's a decision that person makes to kill himself.
Okay. I understand your reasoning.
Rick.
I don't agree with it, but I understand what you're saying.
Tonya, before we break, why are you shaking your head, Tonya?
It's an occupational hazard for me as a civil rights and employment lawyer that I deal with a lot of people at like the one of the worst moments in their lives, and I've seen firsthand the value of mental health support for people in crisis, and I can assure you that those people are contributing members of society who we're better to have with us. So if mental health treatment ensures that people don't kill themselves and remain taxpayers, if you want to look at it in those terms, then I think it pays for itself.
Not getting along with your wife or your husband is not an illness, but bipolar disorder, where you may kill yourself or somebody in your family, is an illness. It's a recognized illness, and I don't understand what the justification would be for not covering that under a medical plan.
Rick, final comment.
There are over 300 recognized mental illnesses by the American Psychiatric Association. And one of them, adjustment disorder, is when a person just isn't getting along in his life. And that is one of the most frequent diagnoses you have, which give a person a right to see a psychiatrist, a psychologist, or a social worker and have it paid for by health insurance.
Well, I'm not arguing you should look at these issues and that you shouldn't make adjustments. There are adjustments to be made. And it seems to me that every 5 or 10 years, all of these issues ought to be put on the table. And the government should determine what's going to be covered and what's not.
We got to break. Tonya, what did you want to say?
In order to be a disorder, there has to be a severity of symptoms requirement satisfied that disrupts your daily normal functioning. Let's not pretend that everybody who disagrees qualifies as having an adjustment disorder. All
right, we got to stop. Rick, put your hand down. Howard Mallison, I want you to know this is a technical point. I've not gotten one time cue. I don't know if your phone is working or not working.
Working fine, Richard. It's working fine. I've been sending them out.
Maybe you are. Where are we time-wise?
We are at 27.
10-4. Please, Howard, speak for our other two fine sponsors.
Thank you. You know, if you or your family has experienced personal injury, medical malpractice, or nursing home neglect, it's time to call the law firm of Barry Glazer. He has the legal team and resources to go after big insurance companies to get you every penny he can. And with an in-house medical doctor and nurse, his attorneys work hard on getting the most complex medical malpractice cases solved. Barry Glazer is your best advocate for the injured, disabled, and medically abused. So give Barry Glazer a call at 410-547-8568 and let him know you heard about him on Square Off. And you know, for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, your choice for a great meal starts at the Double T Diners. And all the menu choices are served the entire day. The Double T Diner has locations all over town: Route 40 West, Perry Hall, White Marsh, Bel Air, Laurel, Annapolis, Pasadena, and the EC Diner in Ellicott City. You've never seen a menu with so many selections. It's why the Double T Diner wins so many polls. Reader polls are always picking the Double T Diners. Plus, Monday nights are lobster night at By the Docks in Middle River, part of the Double T family. Let them know you heard about them on Square Off. Back to you, Rich.
All right, Howard. Thank you very much. Well, for the first time in nearly a half century, President Trump became the first sitting president to attend a regular season NFL game, which the Washington Commanders lost to the Lions 44-22. Many in the crowd booed when Trump was flashed on the Jumbotron. They booed again when the stadium announcer mentioned him at halftime, and even more boos while Trump read an oath for members of the military to recite. To be fair, there were some fans cheering also, for the president. But what's your reaction to that? Any one of you except?
Didn't he say that booing is a measure of respect?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to bother Trump much. Presidents have always been booed because they're significant people. Ronald Reagan was booed by the AFL-CIO because they believed he had some anti-business practices. And if Reagan can get booed, anybody can get booed. And Donald Trump gets booed. And I understand why he's booed. One of the reasons is his style is so abrasive that I would boo him too. But I don't think that this is something that Donald Trump should give a feather or a fig about.
Ton?
Yeah, that's not a particularly meaningful barometer of how the country views the president. I don't think. I think it'd be more useful to look at what's being said in right-wing media, and he does have a problem there. So I think that's the bigger issue for the president.
Final word, Jim, from you, then Shannon. Jim?
Oh, yes. Well, I don't think it's very meaningful that he was booed. Plus, it's Washington. It's a very liberal community. It's look at his policies as opposed to getting booed in the stadium.
He also wants the new stadium, when it's built, at the site of the RFK Stadium, where I emceed the Beatles concert, Rick, in July of 1966. And on that note, well, anyway, Shannon, final word.
You know, I don't think that we should put too much either way in the president getting booed at a game. I think the fact that he went to the game, I actually think is a positive. I think we need to see presidents. I think it's something that folks should do going forward. I really don't think he cares, nor should anybody else, about getting booed. People have their opinions, and in liberal DC, as it's been pointed out, they have a lot more of them.
All right. Good show, everybody. You guys were terrific. Tonya, thank you. Jim, thank you. Rick, Shannon, and all of you out there, because our audience continues to grow because of people in the know. And that's each of you. How about that? So we'll see you next week, squareoff.net. Until then, have a great week. Be safe, and so long, everybody.